Hi, this is Evelyn Puerto, and I'm back with another weekly writing update. I cannot believe it's the end of March already. If I was to title this update, I'd call it Winged Horses, Wyverns, and Woes. And that's what's going on deep in the second act of The Girl Who Wrote on Water, and it's getting exciting. While I've made sure that Daria, the heroine, encounters a lot of troubles along the way, now she's in for some confrontations with magical creatures. First, a sardonic winged horse, then an ambush of wyverns, and she hasn't even gotten to the wild wastes of the northern barbarians quite yet. Clearly, I'm having a lot of fun with this section of the novel. I hope you enjoy it when it comes out, sometime in 2024. And not to worry, the first in the series, The Girl Who Broke the Dark, will come out this fall. In other news, last week I was on the Writer's Preface podcast, hosted by Samuel Hale, and in that podcast, he explores how writers become writers. What's the journey? So if you're at all interested in how I became a writer in spite of myself, you might want to check it out. I'll have the link in the comments below. And now for 2 pages of Flight of the Spark, we are starting Chapter 4. Trotting to keep up, Iskra could hardly believe what she was seeing. Tarkio strode up the steep trail in front of her, laughing and joking with Hiko. With a risker, a barbarian. How could he be friendly with such a person? Didn't he know it was forbidden? She hoped she'd be safe enough with Tarkio, who, as a trader, was at least a known quantity. Maybe. Over half an hour passed as they tramped through the woods before she realized they were approaching the Risker camp. Exhaustion battled with her fear. She didn't think she could walk any farther. She didn't expect to find any rest with the uncouth Riskers. By now the sun was starting to sink toward the tops of the trees. Long shadows crossed the streets of the camp, shading the houses. She frowned. From what she'd been told, she expected the Riskers to live in caves or maybe tents, not houses made of what? She ran her hand along a wall. Stone with some wood. Glazed windows, too. And there were so many houses, 50 or more. The camp was about the size of Gishin, but with wider streets and bigger yards around each house. Hiko opened a door to one of the houses, letting the smell of a savory stew float into the lane. He smiled and motioned for Iskra to enter. She approached warily. All she'd ever been told was stay away from the Riskers. It's not safe. She grit her teeth and walked in. Hiko, who's this? A woman's voice asked. Iskra stared wide-eyed at a middle-aged woman with dark blonde hair pulled back in a bun, stirring a pot sitting on what looked like an oven. She was cooking. That was dangerous enough, but in her own house, that was far worse. Iskra shifted her gaze from the oven to the woman. Her dress was green like pine needles and was pulled in at the waist by the ties of her yellow apron. Risker women were supposed to be unkempt and dirty, not neatly dressed and clean like this one. This is Iskra, ma'am. She was running from a bandit when we found her. Oh. The woman looked steadily at Iskra. Her eyes were green and as kind as her son's. You're hurt. No, Iskra shook her head. Not really. The woman raised her eyebrows. Hiko, why don't you and Tarkio go find your father and sisters? Supper's about ready. She waited until Hiko and Tarkio left, then turned to Iskra. You're not hurt, you say? Then what's that blood on your face and sleeve? Iskra looked at her arm and saw what the woman was talking about. Her sleeve and blood-stained ribbons, little trickles of blood drying in rusty lines that extended to her wrist. Sit down there. The woman gestured to a wooden bench facing the table. Iskra slowly stepped away from the door and sat down. The woman took Iskra's arm, pulled back her sleeve, and held the arm up to the sunlight coming through the window. Iskra looked at the long scratches in her arm. How did that happen? And that's our reading for today. Come back next week for more of Chapter 4 of Flight of the Spark. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.